cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best. I am what I am today, cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say.
Hey, this is The Deal. I'm Danny Brown. Thank you for tuning in. Please review and subscribe if you like what you're hearing. We're getting a lot of traction and a lot of good followers. This week's episode is Andrew Kirsh, founder of Sklar Kirsh law firm in Beverly Hills. An amazing group of talented attorneys taking on all the big bad boys of corporate law. Basically what they are is people with big corporate backgrounds, law backgrounds from big firms that have joined here to create a entrepreneurial spirited law firm in entertainment, corporate, litigation, technology, and they're basically able to provide everything that a big company can provide and more, yet they're also able to pivot and get really deep and personalized, sometimes participating in deals. They're doing some massive transactions and involved with some large, high-end scale legal situations. So amazing on that. Andrew happens to also be a good friend, phenomenal athlete, collegiate baseball player in the Big Ten at Northwestern. But when his ego gets big, you got to remind him that Northwestern was terrible back in the day. Anyway, he also broke my heart in the LA City softball championship where his team upset my legendary team. But according to my wife, nobody cares about my softball and baseball or any of that. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, tune in. It's a great episode. Talk to you guys soon. So pumped up today to have my good friend Andrew Kirsh in the house. How are you?
I'm doing great, Danny. Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor.
I'm sure one of the biggest honors of your life being here today with us at Compass Beverly Hills.
I would say besides my wedding and the days my kids were born, this is the third greatest day.
I told you you'd think that. Anyway, Andrew Kirsh, where do we start? You are the founder of Sklar Kirsh.
Did I say correct? That right? Sklar Kirsh.
Sklar
yes.
Kirsh. You started your career at a huge global law firm, and I want to get into sort of. Well, let's rewind it. Let's start with growing up. You grew up on the West Side, and you know my wife. You guys grew up and went to Beverly. You were a all-American type kid, athlete, academic, nice guy. So tell me about where you were raised, how you were raised, and how sports played a role in your early years and moving forward. And then we'll get into the law stuff.
All right, fantastic. Well, I feel like I'm reliving my youth with my 4-year-old daughter and my 2-year-old son. And my son wants to play t-ball every day, and my daughter more of a dancer, performer, actress, although she also plays soccer. But we're sitting here on the corner of Beverly Drive in Wilshire, and I grew up right here in Beverly Hills, and yep. So these streets are very familiar to me. Like you said, I've known your wife for
a lot longer than I've known her.
32, 33 years. I think she came and joined us in the 5th grade, and she definitely provided our 5th grade class with a big spark. Me and several others had big crushes on Jessica.
She brought the energy.
She definitely did. So hopefully she's listening.
Doubtful that she is, but well, tell her to listen to will you figure out what's the timestamp? We'll tell her to listen to this 10 seconds.
Yeah, pretty early. So, but Jessica knows that. But you won. You got her, and the rest is history.
I always win when I play you.
Yeah, well, we'll get into softball.
By the way, Jessica introduced us. I remember about 15 years ago.
I do remember that.
She was like, "You got to meet Andrew Kirsh, great guy, baseball player, real estate guy. You guys will love each other." She made a shidduch. If it wasn't for Jessica, I would have never known you.
I wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't have epic softball battles. But yeah, no, I grew up in Beverly Hills, El Rodeo Elementary School, Beverly Hills High School, sports were a big part of my life.
Right.
Played Roxbury Park Little League, La Cienega Park Little League, high school, and ended up playing in at Northwestern, where I went to college, and loved Chicago so much that I stayed. And
Northwestern was so weak.
and went to law school.
Crushed them.
Who's they?
SC, baby.
Well, we did play SC in the Rose Bowl, and we lost. But
No, so tell us about that. Tell us how sports, obviously when you were younger, we all played, but how sports sort of shaped you and impacted you, the competitive spirit, and you went on to play Division I baseball, which is huge.
Yeah.
And from there you went on to law school. But let's talk about sports and how it's impacted you as a person and you getting into the business world.
Sure. So, I mean, growing up, my family, we had the Dodger season seats. My parents were big sports fans. I'm a big sports fan. It's just in my blood. I'm a competitive person. So if I'm playing my daughter in, I don't know, tic-tac-toe, and my son were shooting hoops or anything, I'm going to win or want to win.
You don't let them win
Absolutely
at tic-tac-toe?
not. Nothing.
Oh, that's brutal.
So it's just in my nature. Besides my house and the schools I went to, I spent probably the third most amount of time would be at Dodger Stadium growing up. I was there for Kirk Gibson's home run.
You were at that game, that
yes,
World Series game one.
I showed up late to David Levine's bar mitzvah, October 15th, 1988. I remember it like
Good
it was
move.
yesterday.
That was a good strategic decision to stay late.
He said he would have missed mine or showed up late if he had an opportunity.
Totally understood.
So he understood. So let's see, I was 13 years old then, and so impactful. They still haven't won a World Series
Not
since. And that Game 7 loss against Houston 2 years ago, I was there, and it was
painful.
I don't know, it was crushing. And I'm 43, almost 44 years old, and yet I still act like a little boy when it comes to certain sports. And I can't just watch a random, I don't know, Indians Royals game, right? But if it affects the Dodgers,
You're interested.
Northwestern, or the Clippers, I'm actually a Clippers fan. That was never really a Lakers fan. It's my escape, right? It's my escape from the daily grind of work, and it's my fantasy land, I guess, my Game of Thrones. So I would love for my kids to be involved in it, and I think it teaches a lot about a person. For sure. I know you play baseball, and baseball is a great sport because it combines team elements where the camaraderie and sacrificing yourself for the greater team, but yet there are individual components of baseball. When you're in the batter's box, it is just you. No different than playing tennis or golf. And so it has so many individual components where it's on your shoulders, and when the game's on the line and you have to get a base hit, and it's really just, you're either going to succeed or fail. And when baseball, you're going to fail, 7 out of 10 times?
Yeah.
And if you do that, you're considered fantastic.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah. That's it's a tough sport to know that you're going to fail so much, and yet that's considered successful. And so sports have really propelled me of being very competitive in the business world. And I want to, win every deal and try and get every client. And it's every day is like a game for me.
Yeah. Let me go back. How in the heck did you become a Clippers fan growing up in Beverly Hills in the 80s and 90s? Showtime Lakers, Magic, Kareem, Worthy, Cooper, AC Green, Rambis, Nixon, on and on. Who did I miss? Michael Thompson. How did you become a Clippers fan?
Yeah, well,
or was that like a
more recent thing?
Yeah,
I would
after
say in
the-
between. I definitely did not jump on the bandwagon with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. It was well before that. Although we were big sports fans, we were huge Dodger fans. We had season seats. The season ended in October, and then we sort of took a break, and we never jumped into basketball. And when the Clippers moved to Staples Center when it opened in 1999, and they offer 2-for-1 packages, and your total price is, I don't know, $30 or $40 to go to a game, and contrast that with the Lakers, where it was several $100s to go to a game. That was an easy decision.
It was a fiscal decision.
And they had a fun young team in the early 2000s of Lamar Odom and Quentin Richardson and Elton Brand. And
that was an exciting time.
And so you contrast that with the Lakers, where yeah, they were winning. And it's almost, to me, it was like too easy to be a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
Right? Like they kept on winning. You had drama with Shaq and Kobe. And I don't know, I just like the underdog story of the Clippers, similar to Northwestern, the smallest school in the Big Ten. And we have to fight above our weight class.
Play above your weight, for sure.
In order to compete, football, basketball, baseball, other sports. So, although the Dodgers are a big market team, I almost feel like sometimes they have this underdog feel. They're not like the Yankees or the Red Sox, and so that's part of my spirit. Maybe it's also because I'm only 5'7", and I've always been the underdog when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
Unlike you, who's like 6'6", 220, chiseled. Like
yes,
you're
6'4", 220.
6'4", okay.
Yeah, but chiseled.
Definitely
6'6" with the Jewish afro.
Yes, the Jew fro.
High
But
top
it's
fade.
looking short and tight.
Just said it was high and tight. He liked it from last week. I got it high and tight. I got to
do.
cut it high and tight.
Okay.
I'm losing my hair. What do you want me to do here? This isn't the 90s
Well, I can give you
anymore.
some secret sauce for that too.
I would love that. So,
Yeah.
sports was a huge part of your life. I know we had that in common.
Yeah.
The competitive nature and the challenges and the grind of. I think a lot of people don't realize also. When we say being competitive, when you play even in a competitive high school level, but certainly college, they don't realize the schedule of an athlete in college. When you have a full set of classes, 4 classes, and then you have practice for 3 hours, and then you have weight training for an hour and conditioning for an hour, and then go study.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't realize that. I mean, we've been doing that since we've been 14, but certainly once college hit, it was 24/7, and I think that prepares you also for just the energy level needed and the stamina needed to really grind it out in work. And then to get into your career, you went to law school. Very impressive academics. You went to Northwestern Law School?
Yeah, so both double purple.
Yeah.
So,
So you had
cut me
terrible
open, I
grades.
bleed purple.
Bleed purple.
Yeah.
You were a real dummy
Well-
with bad grades. Your SAT scores were like mine then.
Well, I actually had to take them as opposed to you, where I think you paid somebody to take yours, and that's how you got into SC. But
Yes. I don't think I ever took the SATs. I just hit 400-foot bombs. They're like, you're in.
yeah. Well, yes. To speak about the time commitment of being a college athlete at Northwestern, where you actually have to take your exams, unlike the school that you went to. It is. I don't know what students do with all their free time who don't play a sport.
I
I think,
know.
what did you do with all that
Keggers.
time? Yeah.
Yeah. Beer bongs, keggers. I don't know.
My wife says that I didn't have a true college experience because I played sports, and so while she went to parties and
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
So you go to law school, you come out of law school, and you started your career as an attorney at a big global firm. Were you at Gibson and Dunn? Or
no, that was our competition.
Oh,
Latham and Watkins.
Latham and Watkins, same difference. Right? Massive,
Yeah.
hardcore. So tell us about that. Tell us about that experience, how intense that was, and then why you left to go to a smaller boutique firm and then
Sure.
eventually starting your own firm. Was that part of the plan from day one, or was that just organically developed? Tell us a little bit about that once you started your career and take it from there.
Absolutely. So look, the time rigors of playing college sports and having to keep up a good academic record in order to get into a good law school prepared me for the rigors of being at a large behemoth law firm like Latham and Watkins, where clients and the partners expect you to be available all hours of the day, evening, weekends, holidays, and high stakes. Initially, I was doing litigation, and then I morphed over to the real estate transactional group. So high stakes litigation at first for me, and then high stakes corporate commercial real estate. I mean, we're talking about deals where $1 billion figures were the norm, major office buildings, hospitality transactions, gaming casinos, large multifamily properties. So it prepared me to be organized because you're dealing with a massive amount of paper, a massive amount of people and logistics and closings, and it's high stakes real estate and high stakes legal transactions.
Yeah.
And so I was there from 2000 through, I think, the end of '06, early '07. I had an opportunity to help start the LA office of a Boston-based firm called Goodwin Procter. I was there for a few years, and then the Great Recession hit. And there was a big pushback on large law firms and the escalating billing rates. The clients were not wanting to pay those rates. Even though LA is a major market, it's a market where there's a lot of middle market activity in the commercial world, corporate, M&A, real estate. And so I saw an opportunity where, although there were a lot of boutique litigation firms, there were almost no boutique transactional firms. You were either a massive firm or
one guy
like
on
a
his
solo
own.
practitioner.
Yeah.
And so my partner, after spending a couple of years at a boutique firm called Raines Feldman, I met Jeff Sklar, my partner, and he's a corporate M&A attorney, and I'm a commercial real estate transactional attorney. And we formed Sklar Kirsh and started with about 5 lawyers at the time in 2013, and now we're approaching 35 attorneys.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, has it been since it's been 6 years now? It
We're,
seems like
we're
it
in
just
our
happened.
7th year. It's crazy.
So now you have
Yeah.
35 attorneys.
Yeah.
And what categories you cover? It's more than just real estate, M&A. It seems like it's developed now into what else are you guys specializing in?
So I run the real estate, and that spans all asset classes: multifamily, retail, shopping centers, office buildings, hotels, industrial buildings. Jeff Sklar runs the corporate department, which is really across all industries. So big on digital media, entertainment, manufacturing companies, restaurants, fashion. That's the buying and selling of companies.
Companies in all industries.
Venture funds, capitalizing startups. And then last year we started a litigation group. I wish that none of my clients were in litigation. I despise litigation. I think it's extremely inefficient, but yet we're in a litigious society.
Yeah.
And so we felt that it was important to offer litigation services to our clients, and to the extent they can't resolve their disputes in a mediation or amicable way, then
that's the last resort.
Litigation is there. And it says something about our society, because our litigation group has grown from not having anyone to, I think we're 8 or 9 lawyers within a year.
There's a demand for it.
There is and we're in a great economy. Usually litigation is counter-cyclical, where when the economy turns, then there's more litigation, but the economy is booming, and yet we're extremely busy in our litigation group.
Yeah. So for our listeners and for us, give us sort of an approximation when you talk about big firm billing and middle firm billing. What would be a typical rate if you're at one of these top global firms dealing with a top partner and you're transacting on one of these massive office buildings?
Yeah.
I mean, talk me through that so we have some context on what the value play is and what the ranges are. Just so we have some idea. Obviously, I know there's so many variables. But.
Sure. So, look, when I pitch a client, I never want to lead with rate, because we're still expensive, right? I lead with quality. I lead with experience, but there is just a fact of cost that these large firms who have large overheads and have a great number of junior associates to feed, they have to charge more for their hourly product. So with that said, it is not uncommon for the senior partner of a large firm to now bill around $1,500 an hour. And
Woo.
I've heard that it has even gone up to $2,000 an hour for the highest of tax lawyers and bankruptcy lawyers. And look, those firms are great for bet the company litigation, for the largest of transactions, when you need an army of junior associates to be staffed on your deal. And it comes with a price.
Yeah.
The junior and mid-level associates at those firms start at $600 an hour, $500 an hour. A fourth-year associate, I think, is around $700-800 an hour. So that is where the big value difference is, because a client can justify, it's not my money, but I know they can justify paying $1,500 for the top attorney at a Latham, at a Gibson Dunn, at a Skadden Arps, if it's going to get the deal done. And maybe they're going to do it even more efficiently. Yeah. But where we become so much more competitive is when they compare the rates of junior to mid-level associates to ours. And so when a big firm's junior mid-level associates are more expensive than me, who's been practicing 20 years, or my colleagues who've been practicing, 20, 25, 30 years.
Difference.
It is a major difference. And so our rates are, partners are in the 6s and per hour, and senior associates in the 4s, and a couple of junior associates that we have are in the high 3s.
So it's a major difference. We're talking 2, 3, 4 times sometimes, depending on what level of service. Now, that's really interesting, because you would think that your niche would have already been around for decades. The niche of, hey, we have these partners that have big firm experience, but we're now taking it to more of a boutique level. And why do you think that didn't exist? And obviously you guys capitalized on that opportunity.
Yeah. So I think there's a number of reasons. One, lawyers are risk averse people. Okay. I'm not, but most lawyers are. And so there's comfort in being at a large institutional firm who will pay for everything. Yeah. Your rent, your malpractice, your overhead, associates, paralegals, secretaries, assistants, business development budget. Lawyers are paid, the salaries of junior to mid-level associates are extremely high because back in the first .com craze of the early 2000s, even in the late 90s, law firms were losing associates to .coms.
Yes, I remember
who wanted attorneys in-house, and they were just throwing money at them. Yeah. Well, it happened again. And so it's happening with the Netflixes of the world and digital media.
Come in-house, get equity and big salaries and benefits.
Absolutely.
So law firms are now having to compete against that.
In fact, I saw an article this week that my competition isn't necessarily other law firms. It's in-house. It's companies that are building their in-house counsel. So you need to then overpay your associates
to keep them.
And so then that has a strain on the billing rate that you charge your clients.
Of course.
And it's just cyclical, right?
Totally.
So why didn't it happen until now? I think it was really the escalating costs of junior associates and mid-level associates, and clients pushing back on these rates. And you don't have to be at the 50th floor of a beautiful Century City or downtown office building. You can get reasonably priced space and not have one attorney for each for an assistant, but nowadays with shared assistants of
shared space,
half a dozen lawyers or more, and more economies of scale, and people working from home, and there are ways to save on costs.
Yeah. So an interesting point that I want to hit on and dive deeper in, saying attorneys are risk adverse and, it's not really entrepreneurial. Well, you are, and you've been entrepreneurial from early on, doing your own investments, and I know you've gotten some income properties. It seems like you do a lot of sort of entrepreneurial startup investing, even within your clients. Are you? I mean, I think from my perspective, and I don't know for sure, but are you investing in deals alongside clients as well?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the benefits that we have of being at our firm, we're very entrepreneurial. So we have a separate fund that we set up to invest both in real estate, for real estate deals and corporate deals. And it's the law. Look, I love practicing law. I love helping clients. I love advising and structuring deals and getting to a closing. But it also provides great access to deals and deal flow. And so last year we probably reinvested fees in over a half a dozen, if not 8 or so deals.
Wow.
Clients like it because they feel confidence that their law firm is investing, and we protect ourselves and get the normal conflict waiver letters that law firms, I think, procedurally were maybe risk averse, but it's a lot easier to do it when you're a 30-person firm as opposed to a 3,000-person firm. Yeah. And so I enjoy it. And then also separate and apart from my clients, investing with my clients, I have some apartment buildings that I've had in LA for some time.
So walk me through, if you could, I don't know if you can disclose or not, but walk me through what would be a typical deal you've done with a client where you've invested money. How does it come about? So what is sort of is it something the client asks you to do? Is it something that it just comes up organically? But what's the type of asset class, deal size? Walk me through an example so we have an idea of like how that all looks. And then what happens once it's bought moving forward? I assume you're just now an owner.
Yeah. So all asset classes, from multifamily in LA to multifamily in the Portland area to office buildings throughout the West Coast, an RV park in Northern California, property in Texas. So it really runs the gamut. How does it come about? There's really 2 ways that my clients capitalize deals. One is through syndicating with friends, family, and other limited partner investors. And let's say the average check that their investors are writing $100,000, $200,000, and they aggregate a couple $1 million, maybe more, over a dozen to 2 dozen people. That's one way they structure a deal. Usually smaller deals are structured that way. The other way that a deal is structured, a more institutional deal, is through a joint venture structure where my client, an operator, sponsor, we call them, is partnering with a large private equity institution, a Goldman Sachs, a Morgan Stanley, a JP Morgan, AEW, that will provide 90 to 95%, in some cases 100% of the equity. And then the sponsor operator puts up 5 to 10%. In those JV deals, usually there isn't an opportunity for me to invest. It's the syndicated deals when they're going out to their community, the lawyers and doctors and entertainers and their friends. And so that's when I see an opportunity to invest. And once the deal closed, so I have my lawyer's hat on in getting the deal structured, papered, closed. And then after that, I'm an investor.
You become a limited partner.
I'm
like
a limited partner.
Else. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And we've had great success and round trips and converted certain investments here in LA to larger investments elsewhere. And it's something that I look forward to continuing and doing.
Good. So let's get back to some fun stuff.
Yeah.
So how does sports play a role in your life now?
Right, because the law is not fun.
No, that was really fun, especially investing with clients. I love that. But are you still playing sports? I know you were doing golf, tennis, softball. I don't know. Did you guys retire or are you still playing? We retired, as you know.
Yeah, well, first let's talk about the rivalry of Danny Brown and Andrew Kirsch between our 2 teams in softball. Yes. So your team called Westside Moose.
Westside Moose.
Why was it called Westside Moose, first of all?
You never knew that?
No.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
So
wait a minute.
Westside.
I'm the guest here. So how long are you going to speak for?
I don't know. Am I getting billed $1,500 an hour for this?
That would be if I was at a larger firm.
Oh, so I'm getting $650. All right. So we're about 300 in. Really quickly, we were the West Side. A bunch of guys were, come back from high school, college, pro ball from different schools on the West Side. Mainly it was Union Pally, all good buddies from Union Pally. And then Steve, I don't know if you remember, there was one guy on our team that never played baseball, Steve Rogers, and his dog, a golden retriever dog, would come and be our mascot in the early days for the first 5-10 years. Moose was the name of the dog. So at first, I think we were West Side, and then we decided, you know what, Westside Moose. Because Moose passed away. We wanted to keep the legacy alive, and that was our only fan. No one else showed up.
Yeah, so I'm sure
girlfriends didn't care. No one.
It's very similar to our softball story, but I don't know.
You were associates for hire.
Yeah, but
cocky Bastards.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you could
Punks.
track ratings on your podcast, but this is the time of the podcast when I think all your listeners are going to drop off when we talk about softball of middle-aged guys who used to be baseball players back in the day. So, our team was called Associates for Hire initially because we were in the Lawyers League, and let's just say I wasn't satisfied with the quality of
JV league.
I wasn't satisfied with the quality of players at the firm that I worked for, and so I was looking for other lawyers who had quality softball experience. So we were called Associates for Hire, and then we sort of expanded to my friends who weren't necessarily lawyers and didn't really qualify in the Landau Lawyers League. And so we had to go to the City of LA Softball League. And we never played each other in our league play, but in the postseason tournament play, when I saw the brackets and I saw that we were going to be up against Westside Moose to get to that trophy, we knew it was going to be a challenge, especially facing Danny Brown.
Yeah, it was.
And those first few years, I think you got us probably all the time. And then something happened. I think age and having kids, and
it's hard to keep that fire going.
You couldn't keep it going. We were, except for, I guess, yesterday, we were like the Golden State Warriors, and we took over and started beating you guys up.
Started winning. I wouldn't say beating us up.
I would say I think I pulled up some scores, and it was pretty bad, Danny. Some of the slaughters.
So. Yeah. Really? Yeah, it must have been when we were missing a lot of players, but not in the playoffs. But you did beat us.
We did beat you.
I got to tip my hat. We got old, we got soft, and you beat us. Those championship games played out in that valley. It was like 110 degrees. It was horrendous, but fun.
We trained all season, all year long to play you guys.
You guys did train. We didn't practice once in 20 years, but you did practice, and you caught us and beat us at the end. That's hard work pays off. We got lazy.
Thank you. Well, I still play a little bit of
still
softball,
a bunch of punks.
But yeah. 2 kids later, and we don't go out to the valley anymore on the weekends.
So you're done.
Well, we're still playing at La Cienega Park, but it's not as competitive as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, no, it's softball. City of LA softball.
Right, she really is like Robin in Howard Stern. I love this. We should introduce you in the podcast.
Yeah, we did. It's Sarah. Yeah. She played some volleyball, by the way. She's got some volleyball skills. Should we have like one big challenge of the old guys softball? Rent the UCLA softball stadium, televise it on YouTube or something, and $100,000 winner takes all kind of thing.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, for sure. Let's set that up. Only 100.
500?
Okay, then that's worth something. I mean, we don't want to waste time.
We don't want to waste time or ligaments or hamstrings.
Yeah, it'll be like gosh, what was the movie we were talking about earlier?
Oh yes,
I'm forgetting the name already. The Robin Williams movie with Kurt Russell. The Best of Times.
Best of Times.
Yes.
That will be us. The Best of Times. One last game.
That'll be us. Maybe you'll hit that home run.
One last time. So tell me a little bit about balance in your life. I love to ask everyone that comes on, they're busy guys. Yeah. You have a life, you have a family, you have kids, you big business, and you're still athletic, like to work out. How do you balance it all? Do you have balance? What is your take? Speak on that.
Yeah, it's a daily challenge. And so first and foremost, obviously family comes first, but I have a business and I have clients. And so I'm constantly juggling, and I have podcasts to do.
Yeah.
There's always several balls in the air, and how do you just make that work? And it starts with fantastic communication with your spouse. And so for me, Courtney and I have a really great marriage, and I try and come home by 6 o'clock most nights. So I have dinner with the kids and
got it,
and
a routine,
and bath time and dinner time and bedtime and story time, and usually that goes till about 8ish, and then start the computer back up and crank out more documents and respond to emails, and if need be, get on calls. And usually in the mornings, unless if I'm on drop-off duty, that's when I try and get my workout in. And I'm the type of guy where if I don't have my workout in the morning, then the whole day just doesn't feel right. so you make it work, right? You limit the number of there's an endless number of business development opportunities, whether it's dinners with clients or networking events, or I'm in YPO and ULI and other events that require travel. I curtailed that to once, twice at the most per week. So I'm home most of the nights.
Yeah. Courtney, she still crushes you in tennis, right? She's a much better tennis player. She can play.
So Courtney was a really accomplished USTA ranked tennis player, and
so you
she's
just have no
maybe
you get
5'1", and like
she just smokes you.
she could beat me 6-0, 6-0. And I'm pretty
not break a
athletic.
sweat.
And not break a sweat. And there literally was one time when I don't know, we were dating, first started dating, and I said let's play tennis. And I used to play recreationally with guys, and we'd have these drag out, knockdown matches. And so now I'm playing I guess my girlfriend, I could call her, dating her at the time, and she literally has me running from sideline to sideline, from baseline to net, from sideline to sideline, just to try and keep up. 5 minutes later, I'm on the ground panting. I had never experienced that. And she's just in the middle of the court,
just having a good time.
Yeah, it was like Federer against like the 10,000th player of the world. And so after a couple of kids, she really hasn't played much or at all. But I'd like for her and I to play with our kids as they get older.
Yeah. I've been playing tennis. I've been getting into it. Just started.
Oh, yeah?
I need to get back to it because I've given it some time
All
off.
right, so let's play.
We'll play. I'm not playing Courtney. I'll play. Me and Courtney will play against you and Jessica.
I think that sounds like a great
that
doubles
will balance
match.
it out.
Yeah.
So I know you are really serious about fitness. So what is your workout routine, and what types of workouts are you doing?
Interesting. So I'm not one of these crazy guys who has to have the most advanced workout, and I know everyone's got like the Fitbit and different apps that monitor literally every single output of their workout. That's not me. So I go to the gym probably 5-ish to 6 days a week, and
Getting after it.
I try and change it up, whether it's lifting weights or running, or we do a boot camp at Brentwood Country Club.
Boot camp?
Look, it's country club boot camp. It's like how hard could that be, right?
It could be hard
because I have tried real boot camp on Lincoln and Venice with a buddy of mine, and I thought. Yeah, it was something like that. I think it's called the Deuce. I forget what it's called.
On the beach? You guys?
No. It was on Lincoln. I thought I was gonna just die, and I hurt my back, and that just wasn't for me. Right? Just like lifting incredible weights. I still lift, but that was insane. So, but we do that outside on the golf course at 6 a.m. on Tuesdays, and it's just great to be out there. A lot of fun, and it's just to work out enough where you. Get a good sweat, feel limber, and you're ready to take on the day. And especially on the weekends, for me, when I'm going to be with my kids for most of the day, it's like, that's my time.
That's your time.
For an hour to, all right, so that's my wire confirmation.
He's got a call. You got to take it.
I have to confirm my wire.
Take it.
Are we doing this
Can
on
we
the
stop
podcast?
the billing, though?
Absolutely.
Pause the billing. I'm not getting billed. This is interesting. This is a real call here. Big money on the line.
Sorry. I'm in the middle of, we're refining our house. So.
Let's do 100 push-ups now. Let's see. So you're in good shape, clearly. Do you do any mental meditation, mindfulness, anything to keep your thoughts together, or is it just workout?
Yeah, I don't really. I try and just be a very positive person. And look, you're never going to be positive every single minute of the day. There are ups and downs, kids yelling at you, wife yelling at you, clients yelling at you. And that just happens before 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's just keeping perspective, right?
Being grateful and being appreciative.
Yeah, I hate to even bring this up, but I just had my graduation for, not my personal graduation, but YPO, Young Presidents Organization. I'm in the Malibu chapter, and we have a graduation each year where when you're 50 years old, you graduate out. And unfortunately, this year, one of my dearest friends and members of the chapter passed away unexpectedly
Oh,
in a
sorry to hear
motorcycle
that.
accident
Yes,
right
I know,
here
I know.
on
That's awful.
Crescent and Santa Monica
Ugh.
Boulevard, and we had a tribute to him. And
It's heartbreaking.
you don't want to use someone's passing as a wake up call, but I think we all of
It's
us
inevitable.
inevitably,
You have a
right?
reaction.
So you try and just not sweat the small stuff, and shit's gonna happen, right? And whether it's work related or family related, kids related, if you have your health and things are going well, and we're all doing relatively well in our jobs and families and careers, and that tidal wave of life. If you get sucked up on every single, you get too high on when things are going well, and come really down when some bump in the road occurs. I don't know how you can live life like that. And if you take a holistic approach, and when really tragic things happen, it really sort of recalibrates the way you think about your day-to-day life.
Yeah, it rocks you to the core.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's tragic to hear that kind of stuff. But it a lot of times that does reset your thinking and wakes you up a little more. And I feel like I always have to do a better job of appreciating what I have and what we have, all of us, and not letting the day-to-day mini dramas at work or home or become bigger than they really are, because they're not health related. It's not life or death.
Yeah. Well, look, you and I are both in the service business, and we have clients. And so the reality is
There's a lot of stress
in order to
with
be
that.
successful in the service business, you have to always be on, always be responsive. And because of these iPhones, it's a blessing and a curse. You don't have to now postpone vacations like, our parents' generations had to do if work was really intense. You can still go away. But the bad thing is when you're never away.
Yeah.
I've got a colleague right now who is in Europe, and she's pumping out emails all hours of the day. And I feel badly, but it's just,
That's
there's
the reality.
This expectation that we're always on it's a challenge. I don't know how it changes,
Yeah,
but
I don't know how healthy it is for any of us to always be on. I always feel like the worst thing to do is to always be on, and I try to fight it if I can, when I can. But it's a tug of war. You go on vacation, and I want to lock the phone up in the safe and be present for a couple days. But then there's times you just can't do that. There's critical deals going down, and you have to be present for certain. But it's a tug of war for sure.
I know. Well, look, clients are very concerned because it's such a competitive market, as you know, both in the single family residential market, which you're an expert in, or commercial market. They feel that time kills all deals. And so I understand that there's urgency, but sometimes when there's this, I don't want to say call it a fake urgency, but an urgency that's not really urgent.
Yeah.
That's what gets to me. But if the client says jump and we all say how high.
Yeah, that's pretty right. That's what we have to do. What is your take on the market? Kind of a big question. You're dealing with a lot of asset classes.
Yeah.
You're dealing with big institutions, and I think some mom and pops. You have a pretty good broad scope.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear, here we are, middle of 2019. It's been a good run. I'd love to hear what you're seeing and your take and what you see happening, and if there's any trends or things you're seeing.
Sure. So at the end of 18, beginning of 19, I said to folks who wanted to listen, I said, I think 2019, there's going to be a pullback, and there's going to be a slowdown in commercial real estate. Gosh, was I wrong? Totally wrong. This has been the longest boom cycle in the commercial real estate business, certainly in my 20-year career, and probably in anyone's career. The amount of capital that is just pouring into the United States globally, and those that have it here, into real estate is unprecedented. So they see things like volatility in the stock market. They see volatility internationally, and they see U.S. real estate across all asset classes as a very safe investment. So what that means is a lot of capital going to chase real estate transactions. It drives up the price. In order for people to make things work, then the capital has to be cheap. Interest rates are still very low.
Yeah.
They got up to about the 10-year treasury, which is the benchmark for most real estate deals, got up to 3%. It's now down to basically 2%.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see an end. Banks and lenders are being more conservative this time than in 05, 06, 07. It's a crazy time where there is just so much demand. Of course, if there's exigent circumstances that we can't control, God forbid another 9/11 or something along those lines, then that would change the whole
game changer.
Yeah, that would change everything. But right now, it just seems like it is a very hot market that I know a lot of my clients are looking and wanting it to pull back so they can re-enter the market and buy at some type of discounted pricing. And we're not just talking about Southern California. I mean, we're talking about markets like Seattle and Portland and Vegas and Phoenix and Denver and Salt Lake and Texas and Nashville. And we're transacting everywhere.
I just got back from Nashville 2 days ago, and it's booming.
Nashville
cranes in
is
the
hot.
sky. Cranes in the sky everywhere.
So at some point, doesn't it have to stop, Danny? I don't know what.
Common sense says yes. Can't go on forever. Cycles are cycles. That said, the sentiment you're speaking about is exactly how I felt and feel. I thought the end of 18 is certainly at the high end, started slowing down, and beginning of 19, it seemed like, okay, this is the correction year. And then sometime by the end of the first quarter, things just exploded and took off again, and with more velocity than ever, except for the ultra high end in residential. The ultra high end is it's always in its own world, and that's slower. But entry points in any neighborhood at entry level, it's just on fire. Multiple offers. If you're a buyer, you're so frustrated you can't compete. Interest rates are low, not a lot of inventory, all that stuff. But common sense still says this can't go on forever, but how it's going to wind down and how it's going to transition, it's hard to say because the interest rates are so low. I really don't see it ending immediately. It just seems it's going to take a while for the interest rates to play out. And if the interest rates are low, unless there's some other act of God or some other socio-geographical, political, massive event, I don't see it happening in the next 6 months. Maybe in the next 18 to 24, we'll see. I mean, we don't know what's around the corner. But, I love asking that from people that are in the trenches because it's just so interesting, the amount of time it's been and what's going on. And it's just so hard to always predict. No one has the crystal ball, and they don't have the crystal ball.
Yeah, and there's so many different avenues of capital now that didn't exist 10 years ago. So private lenders, debt funds, every week there's a new debt fund. And this is in the commercial real estate space or single family home fix and flip space, construction space. So people have access to capital. If they're not going to be on the equity side or buying real estate, they're going to be lending on real estate. And so that has just, because it has flooded the markets, it has kept rates down.
And kept prices up.
Kept prices up. Yeah. I mean, my wife and I always have one eye on the residential market. And I mean, it's crazy of how expensive it has gotten. And yes, I understand. I agree with the ultra high end home, which is where you and Jessica play. We can't get that high, but that has come down. It just seems like it's a completely distorted reality of what it costs to live in a decent house
nice
in the west side of LA.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Well, any advice you'd give to up and coming attorneys that are early on in their career, maybe kids in law school? What would you say to them if they were like, hey, what's the world for a young attorney looking like, especially if they were interested in real estate? What would be your advice, the Andrew Kirsch sage wisdom?
Yeah, so the law is...
Get a broker's license?
Get a broker's license and make a ton of money in residential brokerage. Look, I really enjoy the practice of law. I think that it's a stepping stone to the broader real estate. There are many ways you can play in the real estate market. And so I see many brokers, whether they're residential brokers or multifamily brokers, office brokers, who utilize that, them being a service provider as a way to make a nice income, but gives them access to deals, and they are also actively doing deals. And for the longest time, there was never really a conflict with brokers who are doing deals as principals.
Yeah.
But there was this perception that a lawyer shouldn't be. And I feel like that, why? I don't understand. We're, yes, providing a service, and you need to perfect your craft. And what did Malcolm Gladwell say? It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert. So if you're billing 2,000 hours a year, that would take 5 years.
But it's probably more.
It's probably closer to 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Probably for me, am I an expert at 20? I would hope so, but that's it takes a long time to be an expert,
I'd say
especially
10 years.
Brokerage.
And if you're really
legal
in it deep, a
services.
good 10 years. If you're not,
You have to be
in
doing
it,
a lot of deals.
Yeah, if you're not doing a lot of deals, you're not going to be an expert in 15 or 20 or 30 years.
Sure. So I know a lot of successful lawyers who have also pivoted into being on the principal side at real estate companies. And so there's, I guess my advice to young attorneys or anyone in the real estate business, if they're starting as a broker or lawyer, is look at real estate holistically, look at your profession holistically, but most importantly, perfect your craft, be an expert, because there aren't enough experts. There's too many, what is it called? Jack of all trades, masters of none. And then utilize your expertise, broaden your outlook, and become immersed in the real estate industry, not just as a lawyer, as a broker, but invest, be a principal.
Smart.
You don't necessarily have to be the day-to-day operator if you're too busy being a broker or lawyer, but be a limited partner.
Yeah.
And then that way,
Great advice.
you've got investments that are hopefully going to be fruitful for you one day.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's awesome to spend time with you. I definitely say let's challenge you to doubles. Courtney and I, and you and Jessica.
And a softball.
And then a softball rematch.
Let's do that.
And anytime we can get together, it's always a pleasure. But thank you for coming down. It's awesome to see you.
It was my treat. Thank you for having me.
And you're not billing me, are you?
You'll see an invoice. Come on.
Thanks for joining us, Andrew Kirsch. You rock, man.
Thanks, Dylan.
I am what I am today, 'cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best. I am what I am today, 'cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best.
Thank you for hanging with us on The Deal. Andrew Kirsch, amazing. Always enjoy hanging out with that guy, giving him a hard time about his baseball career. You can find Andrew at Sklar Kirsh, SKLARKIRSH.com. Incredible group of attorneys if you ever need. Thank you guys. Please tune in, subscribe, and leave comments. The more comments we get, the better for marketing, traction, guests. You can't get a better guest than Andrew Kirsch, can you? Not really. You can find me anytime at Danny Brown LA on the gram or DannyBrownLA.com. Look forward to chatting with you guys soon. Bye-bye.
I am what I am today, 'cause I did it my